When you're looking for a home or an apartment in Southern California, you know it's location, location, location. More than anything, it's a safe location. A good place to raise kids. A place you'll feel safe at night. Well, plenty of families in Anaheim don't feel safe anymore. There are 2 homes in Anaheim housing a combined 11 sex offenders. One of them has 6, another 5. They're in the middle of a normal residential neighborhood with plenty of families and kids around. Turns out the Holy Ground Christian Fellowship Church put the sexual offenders in these homes. They're trying to help them rehab back into a normal part of society. Families in the neighborhood are angry. They want law enforcement to break up the houses. They don't really like the idea of 6 sex offenders living next door. Legally, there's nothing that can be done. Where should these men go, Charlotte?
Well, I come down the side of practicality with this. I sympathize with both sides, but these people have to live somewhere. And the reason this is even on the radar is because they have a sex offender database. There may be murderers living on your street or thieves, ex-thieves that are out of prison, and people don't know about it, so therefore there's no discussion about that.
Yeah, but wait a minute, Charlotte. Wait. You've got a daughter. You wouldn't want a sex offender living right next door to you, now would you? Seriously?
Well, I would be more careful. I'm not thrilled about the idea.
How are you going to be? Wait a minute. How are you going to be careful? How are you going to be careful if they moved in?
There are communities where 90% of the properties fall too close to a school or a park or an area where kids congregate, so they're off limits for ex-sex offenders or sex offenders from the database. So where are these people going to live? I have some sympathy for that. They've got to live somewhere. We have to make some rules. If we're going to say, okay, we don't want too many in one area or too many on one street, then we have to disperse them through the city perhaps. But then the taxpayers are going to have to pay for that because right now they tend to live in the more low-income areas. Now you're going to have to put a certain number in Beverly Hills and Bel Air and Brentwood.
All right.
And who's going to subsidize that?
All right, David, what do you think here?
Well, the real issue here is not whether or not they're going to come back into our communities, because they are, and this is what happens when they do. I mean, the idea of locking them up and throwing away the key, it's just not practical, and you're seeing the offshoot of this. The issue here is that we don't effectively discriminate or determine which of these sex offenders are likely to reoffend. We just call you a sex offender, you serve your time, then you come out, and they're all the same in the eyes of the law enforcement community and in the public at large. And nobody wants sex offenders living near them. The reality is some of them are going to reoffend and some of them aren't. And no one bothers to figure out who's who. We had a sex offender in San Diego who's back in jail again after allegedly killing Chelsea King recently. He was a registered sex offender. So, you know, the issue here is not whether or not they have to come back into our community. It's whether or not which of them should be and where those people should be. Some of them are more...
Yeah, there's actually the case of the 17-year-old who is up for statutory rape charges with a 15-year-old girl who was his girlfriend. You know, he's going to be labeled a sex offender.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's the
thing.
He's not
a danger to society,
so crazy about sex offenders.
You know what, I understand from a practical standpoint what you're both saying, but as someone who has kids, I have to tell you, I would be very concerned if in my neighborhood all of a sudden a church decided they were going to try to rehabilitate sex offenders and 6 guys were living in a house 3 houses down from me. I'm just saying.
Well, hey, I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you.
Understand,
but you know what?
yeah.
Who are those sex offenders? How many of them are statutory rapists?
It doesn't matter.
And how many of them are serial
It
predators?
doesn't
That's
matter.
the question.
It does not matter. They were convicted for sex offense. Okay, let's move on. To me, this next story is ridiculous. Last week, a watchdog group came out and wanted fast food restaurants to stop giving away toys in their meals because they said it promoted childhood obesity. Now they want McDonald's to whack Ronald McDonald. The feeling is Ronald McDonald promotes childhood obesity. Corporate Accountability International is calling on Ronald to retire, even though he's a lot skinnier than he used to be. They say Ronald manipulates children. I think the only way a kid is going to become obese because of Ronald is by eating him. Shouldn't parents be responsible for what their kids eat, David?
Oh, hells yes. And you know what? As long as we're going down this road, we better get rid of the Easter Bunny. We better get rid of Santa. We better get rid of the little Kool-Aid man who walks around, because they're all making our kids fat. No, none of this stuff is making our kids fat. Parents who let their kids sit in front of Nintendo for 4 hours a night when they get home from school, that's what's making your kids fat, not Ronald McDonald.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're pointing the finger in the wrong direction, or maybe they're looking for a cop-out here, Charlotte.
Well, I mean, I support their campaign. They have a right to campaign. Right now, a third of the kids in this country are either overweight or obese. In Mississippi, it's 44%. We spend $117 billion a year on fatness in our society. And there is some validity for the argument that Ronald McDonald manipulates children, because one of the very first Ronald McDonalds, after he gave up the gig, he said that he did manipulate children. He said the McDonald's cared more about profits than it did children. He actually became a vegetarian and said meat was bad also. So there is some validity to that. I support the idea of awareness. I support more labeling. And I personally support a junk food tax, which is a different discussion for a different day.
Everything with you is a tax.
Everything. Awareness and
normally,
education. God love you, Charlotte. We're talking about Ronald McDonald here. I mean, really.
Right. And, people hate insurance companies, too, so I think the little Geico lizard is going to be the next to go.
Right. Well, and what if Ronald McDonald came out with an exercise video? Would that make everybody happy? Would that be okay? Come on, kids, eat a Big Mac.
Pussycat dolls. There we go. Pussycat dolls work out with Ronald McDonald. You got a hit in your hands, Fred.
All right. Good job, David. Charlotte, as always, thanks. We'll talk to you again soon.